Hi there, welcome to No Nonsense Whiskey. My name's VinPF and on today's episode we're going to be covering another Tullibardine. Now I should say at the top of the show, these guys sent me this bottle. It was completely unexpected. They didn't even email me to tell me it was coming, and it dropped just before Christmas with a little Christmas card in it to say thanks for your support over the years. So as I've said on previous occasions, although this one absolutely was gifted to me, I'm sure these guys know that I'm going to review this anyway, so you can take it with a pinch of salt. It's definitely a kind of a PR bottle, but as always, as I always say with these things, my review is completely unbiased, and as we'll go through, I'll pick it apart or give it kudos depending on how I feel about it. That said, let's get straight onto the bottle and see what we've got. Really, really nice gift, really, because this is a Tullibardine Murray, and this is the triple port cask finish. Important thing. Now, this is one of their kind of more special range, let's say. They've got their standard sovereign range, and they've got the Murray range. And then this, I'm going to try and say it, but this is part of this word collection. Now this is either going to be Marquis or Marquess. I think that depends on which side of the pond you're on. But either way, I'm going to go with Marquis Collection. Feel free to hammer me in the comments below if you think I've got that wrong. But yeah, it's part of the Marquis Collection. It's the 12th one, in fact. So these things are coming out nicely. What we've actually got in here, we've got a couple of extra bits of information as well. We've got distilled 2008 and bottled in 2022. So, based on when that was done within those years, it's probably going to be a 13-year-old rather than a 14-year-old, but it's going to be around that sort of time. So this goes for about 65 quid as well on their website, but I'll get into kind of value after you do the tasting, as always. But yeah, so this one here is a triple port cask finish. And there's something actually I want to draw attention to before I carry on, which is I don't usually do this because I don't usually pay too much attention to what's going on the bottle or on the box or whatever. I do a little bit of research online, but as I always say to you guys, I'm not here to be like an investigative, easy word for you to say, investigative, can't say it, journalist. I'm here to review the bottles as I get them, which is how you'll get them. I'm sure we know varying different amounts of stuff about each bottle, but I don't usually like to read this stuff because it's really just marketing, isn't it? But I did read something on the back of this while I was looking for these port casks to find out what they are, and something that kind of interested me was a sentence here. It said, "From our stills to barrel to bottle, this classic Tullibardine has spent all of its life in bourbon barrels. This 12th edition of the Tullibardine Marquess Collection has been recasked into white, tawny, ruby port casks for further period of maturation." I mean, that's perfectly clear, but I just don't really like the sentence that it spent all of its life in bourbon barrels and then was recast. So it's kind of a bit like, I get what it's saying, I get what it means, but it's a bit of a kind of, I don't know, not an oxymoron, but you know what I mean. It's kind of cancelling each other out because it's saying it spent all of its life in one set and then contradicting that almost immediately. But whatever, like I said, I don't usually read this stuff and I don't blame them for it. It's a really lovely box, it's one of these magnetic boxes, but honestly I could do without it. I don't really like extravagant packaging because this just goes in the recycling, and there's foam in here that I'm not sure can be recycled. I might get in touch with them to find out, but this is just a personal thing. I know a lot of you really love your boxes, and that's absolutely fine, not cussing that whatsoever, but just personal point of view, I don't really like boxes because it all ends up in the recycling anyway. Okay, right, we've been going on now a bit enough. The key thing we need to know is that there's been 3 types of port cask that this has been recasked into after its initial maturation, and that's a white port, a tawny port, and a ruby port. How that affects it, we'll see. I'm not really a port guy, don't really know much about port, so let's get into it and see what we've got. Now, one of the other things I will say as well before I get into the proper tasting is there's no mention of added colour or chill filtration anywhere on the livery. Again, like I said earlier, I could have called the distillery to find out, but that's not how I review whiskies. I review whiskies as they're presented to me on the bottle, like I said earlier, and I'm not going to try and say that. Investigative journalism. Oh, nearly got there. Okay, but it is a lovely rose gold colour, and if it hasn't got any added colour in it, then it is lovely, but if it has, who cares? Let's move on. Let's get onto the nose then and see what we've got. Whew, okay, some stuff to unpick here. Now there's that classic kind of like apples and pears thing going on. There's orchard fruits, but for me there's like an added layer of like hedgerow fruits, like kind of raspberries, blackberries, that kind of thing. But you're getting that kind of like springtime vibe from it. I would say. Nice. Let's try on the palate. Okay, this is one of those ones where it, like, for me, it flips on its head a little bit. A bit different on the palate than it is on the nose. But I'm getting kind of lots of vanillas, honeys, some more of those apples, I guess, but with a kind of heavy cinnamon spice on the back end. It's kind of bringing in that kind of like apple crumble vibes, you know, kind of what I'm saying, apple crumble with a bit of custard kind of vibes. Finish is kind of medium. It's not overly long, but very spicy. Lots of that cinnamon going through. So it's kind of like a dram of two seasons almost, you know. It's kind of like a springtime on the nose, and when, you know, that apple crumble vibe that it really does well in autumn kind of thing. So a bit of an all-rounder. I actually really enjoy this. I love this. You know, there's lots to pick apart, I guess, you know, in terms of personal preference on boxes and stuff like that, and words that are or are not on the livery. You know, like, for me, I could do without all the gumph on the back and just have a quite a plain, you know, whether it's got added colour or not. But that's that whole SWA thing that I'm not getting into. I'm not attacking these guys for it. It's just part of whatever goes on in Scotland, you know. I would love the laws to be changed, but it is what it is. Really lovely bottle. 65 quid. Obviously I didn't spend my own money on it, so I'm not going to say that I definitely would, because who knows what I would spend my money on. But I do think it's worth it. I'm not sure if it goes any cheaper anywhere else, but the Murray collection is a good step up from the standard, like, Sovereign release, whatever it's called, the previous one, and it's a good step up into a kind of a different kind of quality bracket, let's say. I know some of the Murrays have some cask strength. This isn't. It's 46%, which is still a good ABV. We like that. But I think, you know, if I'm going to give this kind of a recommendation to you, if you're into Tullibardines, then you're not going to be disappointed. On a personal point of view, if you're looking for an entry level into Tullibardine, I wouldn't recommend going straight into this, unless, for instance, you're into your port cask stuff. And if you are, have at it. But I really enjoyed this. You know, I got this out over Christmas and people really loved this when I was showing them. But that's what I'll do with this now. As always, I'll share this out with friends that I see and whatnot. And maybe if you're on my Discord, then, you know, I might do a bit of a sample drop at some point to a few select people. But check out the description below and you can see more information about that. But I'm going to enjoy this. Let me know if you've tried this. I know it got sent out to a lot of quote-unquote influencers over the Christmas period, so it was kind of out there. I haven't seen what everyone else thought about this yet, but hopefully everyone enjoyed it, because I've quite liked it. But I'll say cheers to you, and I'm going to enjoy my last little bit of this. See you again on more videos.